Well, hello and welcome. My name's Penny and this is Penelope's Chinwag. It's usually an eclectic mix of different things, maybe counselling, fascinating fact, chat about my family. I like to keep you up to date with what's going on there. But today I haven't got much time and I thought, shall I do a Chinwag this week? I really haven't got the time. And then I thought, oh, I will, but I'll keep it simple. I'll keep it simple and short. So, yes, if you haven't got too long, this is the one for you. I just thought I'd listen back to my Chinwag last week. And I don't know how you put up with it. I really don't. You leave me such lovely, kind messages. And I got one from, a namesake actually. Her name's Pene too. And she lives in Cornwall and she goes to the Isles of Scilly for her holidays. She says there's no better place. So, hello. And yeah, I'm so glad. It's a thrill to share, things that have happened to me and how I feel about the Cornish Sea and about the Isles of Scilly, and have someone say, oh, I know exactly what you mean. And some of you said you want to get there, and of course some of you live much too far away. Anyway, thank you for sharing. But as I was saying, you see, I go off on tangents. Yeah. And I started off last week, I listened back, and I started off and I said, oh, Pete's got the car. And then, of course, I interrupted myself and went off on something completely different. And I thought, well, what on earth are they thinking about it? You see, I was supposed to say Pete's got the car because it needs an MOT. And so he's not here. So I thought I'd do Chinwag. Well, I didn't say that. I just said Pete's got the car. Well, what does that mean? Anyway, he took the car for an MOT. Our car is 19 years old. I mean, it's an old boy. It really is. And passed first time, MOT, smashing. And so we're thrilled about that. We don't do too many miles now because down here, living in the southeast of England, is busy. But last week I was talking to you about the Cornish Sea and the colours of it. And I said, oh, I must make something in those colours. And silly me, I don't know if it's going to come out on the screen, but I did make this English paper piecing. Oh no, you see, you always get the light. English paper piecing. Can you see how small those pieces are? Look, smaller than my fingernail. And really, they've got embroidery around them. If I hold it close, yeah, you can see that, can't you? Yeah. The same embroidery goes right the way round. Captain Pugwash, isn't it? But there's 1 and then 4 and then these. So that is the colours. My favourite colours, actually, and that's harking back to that sea in Cornwall. And then, of course, I made myself what I call my sillies bag. I was a silly bag because I wanted to recapture the colours. And here it is. I've shown you before, but I mean, loads of you are joining now and haven't watched them all. The Liberty went to Tresco Abbey Gardens, which are famous, and did some fabric, especially of the gardens. So this is Liberty, Tresco Abbey Gardens fabric. And then I chose fabric to go round. As you can see, the colours of the sea. I had a bit of silk because I'd made a quilt for someone, the whole quilt out of silk, and I had this in my stash. So I used that for the light bit of the sea. Oh, of course, there's all puffins. I didn't get to see them this year, but there's puffins. And here's the darker bit of the sea. Colour of the sand. Bits of silk I had. There's loads of thrushes over there. Loads. And there's also squirrels, which you'll see in my films coming up. and I put a red squirrel for a pocket, and seashells. So I really thought about that. I made it quite some time ago now, but that's my Arse Was Silly bag. So there we are. And I've got something I've made this week. I love this shawl. I'm going to put on the screen what it is because I've forgotten the name of it, but it's a Helen Stewart shawl, and I won the pattern, and I've knitted it before for myself, and I wanted to do it in pink. Can you see? That's the right side. I'll show you the colours I chose. That's a little thing showing me the right side. I'll just slip that off now. It's got a little picot edge. And this wool, I said last week I'll show you, didn't I? I just started it. This colour and this one is the Irish artisan yarn, which is from Yarn Works, and so beautifully soft. And I chose those colours. I was worried about it. I thought, oh my giddy aunt, let me push you a little bit further back. I thought, oh my giddy aunt, what are they going to turn out like? But I'm pleased with them. And of course, I wear it like that, although this is a present for my daughter, because she's a pink girl. My other daughter's a blue girl, so I've got the wool for that another time. So this is for her. I love it. It's so light, it's so easy to wear, and I hope she's pleased with it. And there it is. So that's what I've been up to this week, amongst other things. I've got friends coming tomorrow, so I've been scurry-funging the house so that it's lovely and clean and tidy for them. I mean, you know, it always is, but extra. And I've done some baking. And this week I found out, I always knew that I had an intolerance to milk, but this week I found out that I've got an intolerance to wheat. And so I've been making things gluten-free, and Nigella does some lovely recipes, and I thought I'd show you those next time, maybe, you know, when I've got time. Lovely chocolate drop biscuits, and well, Pete loved them. He ate most of them, and he's fine with gluten. So it's an intolerance, which means that I can tolerate a bit. So I just choose now to say, well, if I'm out and I fancy, I will. But if I'm at home, I'm going to, well, I used buckwheat and it was delicious. And I've made, you know, the recipe I showed you, baked tart. I've made the pastry with free from. So it's just a little bit crumblier. I mean, let's face it, it's lovely with wheat. I make that, you know, egg yolk and icing sugar and all of that. This is a little bit more crumblier, but it's fine. So I'm not too worried about it. So yeah, but the other thing I found out that I can eat that I didn't think I could was hard cheese. Because I was milk intolerant, I thought, oh, I can't eat hard cheese. But apparently by the time the milk has, you know, hardened up, the casein in it, which is the bad bit, and the lactose is fine. So although I've lost out on the gluten and the lactose and the casein, the protein in the milk, it means that I can eat butter and cheese. So I'm rather pleased. So I'm going to be looking out some tasty recipes that I can use instead of wheat. But I'm also going to use wheat as well because I think I'm intolerant, which is a bit different to allergic. If you're, you know, if you're allergic, you can't go near it. But if you're intolerant and you have it now and again, it's fine. And that's where I am. Anyway, did you need to know all that? I hadn't planned on telling you all that. So that's me. That's what I've been making this week, and that's what I'm doing. So I'm going to enjoy friends coming. They're coming tomorrow. Today's Monday. They're coming tomorrow till Sunday. And then next week, Monday, I'm putting the whole week aside to try and get my mum's house finally cleared. I'm going to get a little bit of help, and I'm looking forward to it. We have sold it. Well, not sold it, but we have a buyer for it. And of course, there will come a time when we exchange contracts and they'll need a house that's cleared. And my mum, as you know, had the grand piano, and grand pianos aren't worth anything unless they're a Steinway. So we don't know anybody who wants a grand piano. So next week, I'm going to be thinking, what can I do with this? But this week, I'm not. I'm going to enjoy my time with my friends. Last week, I did read you chapter 1 of my book that my dad took my name from, Penelope Ann, and I had fully intended this week to read you chapter 2 because some of you said you liked it. I particularly liked the bit about where the women were saying, you know, how the men, oh, for goodness sake, can't they just go off to sea and leave them a bit of time and space? And then, of course, they had the time and space, and then they said, oh, well, they can come home now. And so yeah, I thought it was just like us today, really, isn't it? He summed that up really well. But anyway, I read chapter 2, but then the book gets more and more difficult. And yes, I don't think that it's something that you'd really enjoy. It gets quite complicated, quite difficult. And I haven't actually read the ending, but I'm not sure how it all ties in. So I might try and read it all through, but the opening is the best. Well, it is. And so I'm not going to read chapter 2, although I had intended to. So I'm sorry about that. But when I've read the whole book, I'll give you a synopsis and let you know what it's like. Or maybe I'll just pick little bits out so that I can tell you the story. But if there is a book that I find that I'm able to read, you know, in the public domain, then yes, I might do a little bit of reading if you like that. But no, I think this gets a bit too complicated. I'm on now to my little film, and the film is how I get to Tresco. Tresco is one of 5 islands of the Isles of Scilly, and you go by helicopter, and usually there's a helicopter that seats 10 people. You catch it from Penzance, but it was out of action. So they'd hired 2 helicopters, and they were beautiful. Honestly, they were like the helicopters that royalty get in. Leather seats, and they seated 5 and 1 person up the front, and there were 6 in our little trip. And they said, would someone mind sitting with the pilot? And this lady said, I will, before any of us could even think. And she sat, earphones on, with the pilot. And my friend Heather, who makes the quilts, she was called first and went in a helicopter about 20 minutes before us. So it was rather providential, really, because I took her going up and she took me coming down. So we got a film of the helicopter taking off and the helicopter landing. So that's how I got the 2. And it's just the film from Penzance, right at the furthest southwest point there in Cornwall, 26 miles. Takes 15 minutes, just over. And the sun was shining, and it was a beautiful, beautiful trip. So I do hope you enjoy my little film, and I'll see you next time. Hopefully with a fascinating fact or a little bit of counselling or what I've been up to, or maybe just a short episode like this. Just depends on what I'm doing and where I am. But I do hope you're all well and things are going well for you, and enjoy your crafting if you're a crafter. And if not, just enjoy this lovely sunny weather. Although, of course, I know some of you are in the middle of winter. Well, it's quite hard to say goodbye to everybody. But I'll say cheerio and see you next time. Bye-bye.
That's what dreams are made of. Hold it in your hand. Standing on a shipwreck, finding peace of land. Oh, that's what dreams are made of. Here is where you dwell, walking in the desert, catch a glimpse of well, and in the line of expectations of what the future holds, to look for all that glitters in your search for gold. But we're ordinary people with just ordinary lives, the things we need to live and to survive. A summer wind, a peace of mind, the birds that sing, the undefined, the ground beneath, the stars above, the air I breathe, someone to love. That's what dreams are made of. A guidance in the night, stumble in the darkness, finally see the light. Oh, that's what dreams are made of, destined to be shared. Someone who will listen, someone to dry your tears, and in the line of expectations of what the future holds, to look for all that glitters in your search for gold. But we're ordinary people with just ordinary lives, the things we need to live and to survive. A summer wind, a peace of mind, the birds that sing, the undefined, the ground beneath, the stars above, the air I breathe, someone to love. That's what dreams are.